I'd like to share with you a project our group have done. The question is the economic impact of Singapore's government policies to manage road usage. The 4 strategies we are doing is the off-peak car scheme, in short OPC scheme, the electronic road pricing, in short the ERP, third the petrol duty, and fourth the park and ride scheme. Now I'd like to share with you the OPC scheme. The OPC scheme can only be used at specific time periods, mainly 7 PM to 7 AM every day. Now I'd like to share with you how the aggregate demand.
How to pause? I don't know how to pause.
Now I'd like to use the aggregate demand to explain the OPC scheme. The OPC scheme affects the consumption expenditure, which is a component that makes up the AD, as OPC acts as an alternative way to own a car at a cheaper rate. More households will be tempted to buy cars. This causes an increase in consumption expenditure and causing AD to increase. As such, the AD curve will shift to the right. OPC also affects government expenditure. With more people using OPC, this reduces the number of cars on the roads during peak hours. This reduces the need for government to extend and widen the road space to accommodate the increase in vehicles on road. This causes a decrease in aggregate demand. A decrease in aggregate demand will cause the AD curve to shift to the left. The impact on the economy. According to research, consumer expenditure is greater than government expenditure in the year 2008. In other words, the shift of the AD curve to the right is greater than the shift to the left. The net effect is the shift of the AD curve to the right. This OPC scheme will benefit the lower income and middle income group, as it allows them to own a car at a lower price. As the AD curve shifts to the right, there will be an increase in the national income of the country. As for the general price level, since there is a shift of the curve to the right, there will be an increase in general price level. As there are now a greater demand for goods and services, the suppliers are unable to supply more to meet the demand. The price for the particular good or service will have to increase.
Electronic road pricing. What is it? The electronic road pricing is an electronic system of road pricing based on a pay-as-you-use principle. It is designed to be a fair system, as motorists are charged when they use the road during peak hours. The ERP is implemented by the Land Transport Authority in September 1998. It aims to manage road traffic and to ensure a high-quality living environment. By implementing ERP, it helps to decrease the cost of production of firms. The ERP is necessary to manage traffic congestion effectively. Smoother traffic flow leads to faster and shorter traveling time. This means that there is less fuel wastage. This in turn results in a lower overall transport cost for firms. A lower transportation fee would mean a decrease in the cost of production of firms, leading to a fall in the AS curve. With reference to a figure, a fall in the cost of production shifts the AS curve downwards from AS0 to AS1. This lowers the GPL from P0 to P1 and raises the real national income from Y0 to Y1. In the long run, their productive capacity will inevitably increase as well. With reference to a figure, a fall in the cost of production in the long run shifts the AS curve rightwards from AS0 to AS1. This, again, lowers the general price level from price 0 to price 1 and raises the real national income from Y0 to Y1. The economic impacts are: the national income will increase due to increase in productive capacity of the whole economy. Due to a decrease in the cost of production, firms will have more resources to employ more labor, resulting in a decrease in the unemployment rate of the economy. Last but not least, the price levels will decrease due to a drop in the cost of production of firms and an increase in the productivity.
Petrol duty is a special tax that the Singapore government has introduced for two main purposes. Firstly, it is to discourage fuel consumption in cars, and secondly, it is to discourage excessive uses of vehicles on the roads that contributes to road congestion problems and pollution. Hence, economically, this form of tax allows the government to collect extra revenue. It utilizes the idea of a pay-as-you-use principle, where currently it is set at 44 cents per litre of oil acquired. The effect of an increase in the price of oil due to petrol duty is an increase in the transportation cost. This results in the price of most goods increasing. In terms of travelling habits, it will definitely decrease among the general public. The travelling time and distance will decrease, keeping the roads more spacious, and a person's travelling time will decrease with lesser cars on the roads. As will be mentioned later, the cost of all goods will increase slightly due to the inclusion of the taxation of the fuel used for transportation. Aggregate demand will decrease due to price changes, which are very likely to increase. This leads to a decrease in the consumer spending. The cost of production will increase because the raw materials which will be needed to be transported from the port to the factory requires transportation and requires fuel. This in turn leads to a drop in the national income of the country. The petrol duty since 2008 is fixed at 44 cents per litre of oil, which is about 8% of the total price of fuel paid every refueling, compared to before the tax was imposed. The cost of transporting the good is higher now, and effectively translating to an increase in the cost of production. The impact on the economy: income, employment, and general price level. Income and employment. As mentioned earlier, the price level will increase. The cost of production will increase, and this results in a decrease in the demand according to the law of demand. However, some companies may decide to retrench in addition to the increase in the price of goods. Hence, the employment of the country will decrease slightly. The national income also decreases as a result. The general price level. The cost of production will increase slightly due to an increase in the price of fuel, leading to an increase in the price of goods as a whole, and the general price level will increase. As some people are unemployed, companies will tend to produce less, shifting the aggregate supply curve to the left slightly. How do we manage road usage using the petrol duty? By increasing the price of fuel, it leads to an increase in the price of goods. Aggregate demand falls due to the law of demand, according to the law of demand. Companies will also try to make the production profitable, for example reducing the travelling trips. Hence, road usage can also be managed.
Okay, right.
facilities are car parks with connections to public transport that allows commuters and other people wishing to travel to city areas to leave their vehicles and transfer to a bus or a rail system for the rest of their trip. To park and ride, you simply have to drive to a selected park and ride site located near an MRT station, bus interchange, or bus stop. Park your vehicle there and continue your journey. So why park and ride? Park and ride saves you quite a sum of money as you don't have to go through the ERP gantries near the CBD area, and it saves you from the typically high season parking fees charges in the car parks there. Yeah, to see. Okay, fine. More importantly, the environment will also benefit from the reduced traffic congestion and the resultant pollution. These are the aims of the park and ride scheme. So, what economic impact does it bring to Singapore? Firstly, in the short run, to implement the scheme, the government has to build several car parks near the designated MRT, bus interchange or bus stops. This will incur more government expenditure. And when these car parks are built, the shops located near the designated areas under the park and ride scheme will receive an increased amount of customers. When people buy more goods, there will be an increase in consumption expenditure. These two, government expenditure and consumption expenditure, is part of the aggregate demand. So when both of these increase, the aggregate demand will shift to the right, leading to an increase in national income and increase in price. In the long run, since you have to pay while parking your vehicle at the park and ride sites, the government will earn revenue from the parking fees. In the long run, it will increase the government revenue, and if the scheme is successful, there will be an increase in accessibility to the city area. Next, we'll be talking about fuel prices. When you park your vehicle in the car parks, no utilization of fuel is required when their car is parked. This reduces the demand for fuel. A fall in demand for fuel will lead to a decrease in both the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity of fuel. The park and ride scheme was designed to reduce traffic congestion and the resultant pollutants. If it is successful, we can say that it will contribute to a positive impact to the environment, which is to reduce pollution. Hence, the presence of negative externalities will be reduced. These will lead to an improvement of the non-material side in the standard of living in Singapore. In conclusion, we can see that there are various economic impacts from the different road policies, may it be material or non-material. While the main aim of the policies is to alleviate the stress of traffic congestion, it will inevitably cause certain economic impacts, such as increased general price level, change in demands for fuels, unemployment, and other possible economic impacts.